Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists of the pointless things, where we fly and buy pointless statue in Booty Bay, because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. 10. Number 10 are the Stonard War Drummers, and the War Drummers are Kodo riders fighting at the Bloodmire in the Swamp of Sorrows. And I'm pretty sure these are references to the Kodo beast from Warcraft 3, because number 1, they look very similar to them, and number 2, those Kodo beasts did have war drum auras on them. Although I will say, it doesn't look like he's playing the drums very well. I mean, you can't actually hear him playing the drums, number 1. You would think they'd have like a little doom, doom, doom beat audio file to him or something, I don't know, but more importantly, he's not actually hitting the drums. He's hitting the saddle that he's riding the Kodo on. And it's not just him, it is literally all of the Stonard War Drummers marching around here just banging on the saddle of their Kodo, which I get it, that's the way it's animated. It's not like some of them are hitting the drum and some are just hitting the saddle. I also think it's funny to imagine them not knowing that they're supposed to hit the drums. Maybe they think the drums are just some decoration and they're like, all right, let's hit the drum. And they think the saddle is the instrument that they're riding on. Like, I have no idea. They're just dumb orcs being like, oh, you hit saddle. But no matter what the case is, I think they're pretty cool. And so that's why the Stonard War Drummers are number 10. 9. Number 9 are the harp players located in Suramar and Oribos. And I learned while making this that the harp actually dates back over 5,000 years with origins in Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. In fact, it's believed that it was used by priests and priestesses to communicate with the gods. Now, we do have music for both of these harp players that plays in-game. So we'll start with the Suramar music. So here we go, some Suramar harp music. And then here's the Oribos music. I will say, I think I like Suramar a bit more just because you have the water and it's very relaxing, and then you go to Oribos and it feels like they have a weird background noise there, which, you know, it's Oribos, that doesn't surprise me, but it's almost like somebody left a microphone too close to the sound system and you start getting that like that weird audible hum. But you know what? They're both playing the harp in the way that they know and enjoy. Plus, at least they got some in-game audio. That's cool. I always enjoy when they do that. So that's why the harp players are number 9. 8. Number 8 is a whole list of bards in World of Warcraft, because there's a lot of bards in World of Warcraft. So the ones I picked out were the Hired Bard in the Rogue Class Hall, the Russell Brower Bard, which is a reference to Russell Brower, the Borealis Bard, who is Jay the Bard, and Andrea Toyas, a bard in the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. So let's start out with Jay the Bard, who is the winner of the 2017 BlizzCon contest and is also a fellow YouTuber and streamer. And this is a reference to him, and he's got a really cool NPC playing in a really cozy location. Then we have the Hired Bard in the Chamber of Shadows in the Rogue Class Hall, and he actually plays some music we can listen to. So there you go, a little bit of that. And listen, it's not much, but we got a lot of bards and a lot of musical NPCs to get through, all right? And then we have Russell Brower, who pretty much composed all of World of Warcraft's amazing music back in the day, so obviously he deserves a reference, and it almost kind of looks like him, actually. And then we have Andrea Toyas, a Pandaren bard that is a reference to the Blizzard casting and voice director, Andrea Toyas. Although I will say, I think she is playing this lute backwards. I don't know what happened, but I think it used to be the other way around, and now it just looks like she's playing it one way, but it's not the correct way. But you know what? It makes it funnier and greater for Pointless Top 10. And so, yeah, we got a great selection of bards. There's actually a lot more bards in the game, but these were some of my favorites, and so that's why they're number 8. 7. Number 7 is Grenja, and Grenja is a member of the Gold Tusk gang at the Gold Tusk Inn in Vol'dun. And Grenja is actually the inn's resident bard. So you might be like, Crendor, why didn't you put Grenja with all the other bards? Well, that's because Grenja exclusively plays drums because she likes smashing things. And so unlike all the other bards who are just standing around playing their lutes, Grenja is just like, nah, dude, we're going with drums. And if you've seen some other Pointless Top 10s, you might be thinking, Crendor, haven't you mentioned this before? And I did. I actually mentioned Ronka in Pointless Top 10 Innkeepers, and there's a whole big quest line, and at first you can't actually see Grenja, but then you drink some potion, and you can see her as well as all of his other ghost friends. You go check out Top 10 Innkeepers if you want to learn more about that. But for this episode, we're just talking about Grenja, and Grenja doesn't actually get any audible music in here, so that's unfortunate. I'd be curious to see what their drumming sounds like, but you know what? That's fine with me. They're still really cool, and that's why Grenja is number 7. 6. Number 6 are the Reventusk Drummers, and these are forest trolls located in Reventusk Village in the Hinterlands. And if you have ever played a Horde character dating all the way back to classic WoW, you probably remember these drummers, because these have been in the game since actual vanilla WoW, and they just are at the top of Reventusk Village at the inn, drumming away. And they actually do have some audio, so let's hear some drumming. So there we go. That's some drumming from the Reventusk drummers. But one thing I never noticed is the actual drum has this big metallic troll head on it. I didn't even realize it until I made this video. And so yeah, whenever I think of NPCs playing music in World of Warcraft, I always think of these drummers in the Hinterlands. And that's why I had to put them on the list. And so that's why the Reventusk drummers are number 6. 5. Number 5 is Mordresh Fireeye, and Mordresh is an elite skeleton found in the Razorfen Downs, and he actually used to be an orc shaman. If you read through his dungeon journal entry, it says, through necromantic magic, Death Speaker Blackthorn was able to rekindle the flames of Mordresh Fireeye's soul, returning him to undeath. As a former shaman, Mordresh has exerted his twisted control over the elements. He burns and scorches all those who threaten the Death Speaker's works. And he shouts out quotes like, "Soon Aminar will return. Our conquest of Kalimdor begins and nothing will survive our wrath." But aside from all that, he's just rocking out on top of this big pile of skulls. There's like fire going off behind him, and then there's a bunch of skeletons rocking out, and they're like, yeah. Also, it is pretty funny because they do have Orc Shaman skeleton models available after Warlords of Draenor, but they've just kept him as a male Forsaken. But it's probably just too much effort to go back and actually reanimate and change everything, so I don't blame him for it, but it is pretty funny. But either way, that's why Mordresh Fireeye is number 5. 4. Number 4 are the Grummels playing their flutes in the Kunlai Summit, and the Whistler playing his flute in the Zaralek Cavern. And I know whenever I see these Grummels, I always think of the Lucky Do Rap. I'm sure many people do as well, because that's like one of my most popular videos I've ever made ever. But then there's also the Whistler, who's this Niffin located in the Zaralek Cavern that is somehow holding onto his flute with his giant nails, or I don't know how he's holding on to that, but he's just whistling along on his flute and everybody's dancing all around him and they're just having a great time. Actually, I don't even know how he's covering the holes. Like, he doesn't have fingers to cover the holes, but he's still doing it. This man is talented. I'm gonna tell you right now, people are underrating the Whistler. He's got no comments on Wowhead. He is going extremely underappreciated. Give some credit to the Whistler. And then we have the Grummels, who are also playing their flutes, although they have gloves on, so maybe it's harder to cover the holes with the gloves, so also pretty talented. Plus, we're up in the mountains, probably harder to have a lot of oxygen to play with up here, so like, I don't know. I think both these are very talented. I wanted to combine them because they're both just tiny creatures playing flutes. So somebody's probably gonna be like, Crendor, that's not a flute, that's a blah blah blah, or whatever. Like, I don't care, it's a flute. So that's why they're number 4. 3. Number 3 is Grol Grol, and Grol Grol is a Hosen located in the Kunlai Summit all the way up north in this little secret cave. And Grol Grol is definitely a reference to Dave Grohl, who is in Nirvana and the Foo Fighters. And Grol Grol is actually awesome. I feel like I'm going crazy saying Grol Grol. Grol Grol, Grol Grol. He's running around just smashing all these drums in this cave. He is like actually insane. He is just going, well, you can even hear his music. So here we go. Here's some Grol Grol music. And so there we go. Not the greatest of drum beats, I would say, but you know, he's doing it. He's making his own music. That's all that matters, right? I mean, I can't be one to talk. I'm literally making a video about NPCs playing music in World of Warcraft. If anything, that's the equivalent of what Grol Grol is playing on the drums right now. So anyway, that's why Grol Grol is number 3. 2. Number 2 are the bands located on the Dark Moon Island, which are the Elite Tauren Chieftain and the Blight Boar. And I'm sure many of you already know who the Elite Tauren Chieftain is, as they originated as a band of Blizzard employees doing cover songs and eventually graduated to performing their own unique songs, including one that they perform in the game, which is called Power of the Horde. I would play it here in this video, but I'm not sure if it's going to get a copyright strike, so you can go listen to it in-game, or you can look it up on YouTube. And then the Blight Boar are the Forsaken death metal band at the Dark Moon Fair, playing at the Cauldron of Rock in the eastern part of Dark Moon Island. And their enemy is the Death Metal Knight, and their fans are known as Blightheads, and so you have to defeat the Death Metal Knight as the band is playing, and it's actually a really cool atmosphere and a pretty tricky boss fight. I don't know if they nerfed it, but it used to be a tricky boss fight at least, and you have all these banshees going around. It's really cool. And so yeah, I had to put these on the list because these are probably the biggest productions of NPCs playing music in World of Warcraft, and so that's why I put them at number 2. 1. And number 1 is Hard Rog and the Drogbar. And you might be like, Crendor, how are the ones you just mentioned not number 1 if they're the biggest productions? Well, because this is the best production in World of Warcraft. This is Hard Rog and his Drogbar, Bop Rule, Tink Rule, and Clomp Rule. And they are located in the Stone Dark Grotto in High Mountain. And they are quite literally playing rock music. They are hitting on the rocks, and here's some unbelievable audio of their in-game music. And so I think you can see why I put this at number 1. It's a great goof. Hard Rog is, I imagine, hard rock. That's what it's supposed to be, and they're literally playing rock music. Like, how can you not put literal rock music at number 1? Plus, look at that. They all got some great headpieces on. It's just a phenomenal experience. So that's why Hard Rog and the Drogbar are number 1. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Pointless Top 10. If you want more Top 10s, you can check out Innkeepers in World of Warcraft, since I mentioned that earlier in the video. Or you could check out Best Jobs in World of Warcraft, since that kind of relates to this. These are a lot of good jobs. Also, like, comment, subscribe, and consider supporting the channel over on patreon.com/Crendor or by becoming a channel member. Okay? Okay. See you.